everybody. Today's a good day. It's Saturday. What's the date?
The 24th.
The 24th. And we have Sean, but you guys seen before, Sean Briscoe. And you have a YouTube channel, which I'll post below, but it's CL
SB
Politics.
Mhm.
And so, he's got some new information. Okay, hit it, Sean.
So, we were going to after the convention because we had just spoken before the convention, and we were looking to see what some of the polling looked like. And like literally a minute ago, I dropped my video with all the polling information. But what it basically looked, where we're at. So this is all polling that took place during the convention. Where we're at is that the unfavorable number for Trump, and you want this number to be 0 or negative, right? You want to be favorable, not unfavorable. He's at like a plus 9.2. That's the difference between his favorable and unfavorable. And Kamala's around 2.1. So, or 2.4. She's basically 4 times more favorable than unfavorable than Trump.
Wow. Because based on those numbers, I thought you meant Trump was, you're saying
No. He's
9.
His favorable, so they both are underwater with her unfavorable is 2.4. His unfavorable is like 9.5. So you want that number to be 0, right?
Yeah.
You want to be beloved by everyone. So the unfavorable, smaller the unfavorable number, the better.
Yes.
Because it's a bad thing.
And this is after the convention.
This is literally, that was the last poll that was taken the day of the convention. So now all this is going to be post-convention data going forward. I've got a couple of demographic breakdowns of some swing states I'm going to put out just to give it a couple days for the polling to do the polling. And then it takes about 72 hours and they report maybe that fourth day, sometimes the third day. I'm looking for polls that have at least 1,500 or more sample size. So you see a bunch of like 200 and 400s. Don't even read those.
Oh yeah.
I posted a few of them just to show people why they're meh. But look for a poll that's got a sample size of. So I found a couple that literally went live. I mean, it became public 3 minutes ago, and it talks about the North Carolina governor's race.
Yes.
It's like 1,020. So it's not, it's 4 digits. And that's kind of, there's a threshold. I'll look at something with 4 digits. Once you're over 1,500, I really look at you. So this is one I'll look at. And it's got a ridiculously high gap between the person running for governor versus, the Democrat versus the Republican. It's saying the Democrat's almost 14 points ahead. I think it will eventually be an outlier, but I think it shows a trend. And I guarantee you it's those kind of polls with that kind of sample size makes other people start going and poll.
This is great news. So this is North Carolina.
This is North Carolina. And so there's some really fun websites. You guys can Google this yourselves that allow you to kind of do a scenario for the Electoral College where you get to pick the states that go.
Do you have that on your YouTube?
I'm actually going to do a little video on it.
Post it.
Because it's kind of a fun thing that you guys can do as the election continues on. And we did it a bunch in 08. The paths of, and so for example, there's no path to victory for a Republican if a Democrat wins Georgia.
Oh my God.
That's why Biden won.
How's it look for a Democrat to win Georgia?
It's already happened a couple times. It's happened, and we've won both Senate seats and the 20.
Oops, you got frozen.
Oh, it's not. The Democrats are 13th. They got rid of Roe. So I think that gives it an augmented, approach that it's going to be like nitrogen into the system. It's going to make everything grow a lot stronger.
Right.
And I feel like that states like, that's why we're seeing what we're seeing in North Carolina. Anything that was a purplish state or had been won, like Obama won North Carolina in '08.
Yeah.
So it's happened before. It just needed a reason to vote. And the Republicans just gave 52% of the population a really good reason to vote.
Yes. And also, can I ask you, that guy, the crazy one that was running for governor, is that North
He's still
Carolina?
there.
Okay.
No, he is. I mean, he's like, he's absolutely completely insane. The stuff that's come out of his mouth, I don't even.
I know he's going to lose. I don't know why
Oh,
they
yeah,
act
I
like
fully
he's the
believe he will.
subject. Yeah.
I fully believe we will. He will.
What about all this Supreme Court and stuff saying, yeah, you can ask for the IDs? I almost feel like it won't make
No,
it.
you know, we do that in Texas already. It's not even a thing, honestly. I mean, yeah, there's some disenfranchisement. Yes, it is a problem, and it shouldn't be necessary. Believe me, so few people vote.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, but you know what? We do it in Texas.
Yeah.
We have millions and millions of people who vote.
Yeah.
Uh, where I think it gets abused is the fact that the municipalities and states will pull administrative infrastructure out of predominantly people of color neighborhoods,
Yeah.
as far as driver's license, ability to get your driver's license, how close is it to your home? You know, departments of public safety offices have only shrunk in Texas.
Right.
So what and I mean, so what they're doing, like, and they also do it in Mississippi and Alabama and a few other states, southern states. Um, they're used to be able to register at a US post office, but then they closed a whole bunch of the post offices. See?
Yeah.
It's access like that that's been
Yeah.
compromised by the Republicans. And this has been happening over, well, honestly, the math says that by 1995, Congress has pretty much been held by the Republicans, except for maybe four or five uh, between 95 and now, I think five or six, I've actually got the data somewhere, um, have actually been Democratic Congresses. The rest of them, the most of them have been Republican. And that's because in 1995, GIS mapping got way more accurate and they were able to handle much more data.
Yeah.
And they were able to go in, and when they cut the lines for the gerrymandering, it actually started in 90, but by 95 you could see, because what they do is they test terrible stuff in Texas and then we export it. Citizens United was exported out of Texas
Wow.
because, oh yeah, Citizens United is how state Texas elections work and have worked forever. Yeah, I keep telling this to people, as a state house rep, you can be just given $1 million, and as long as it's reported, you're 100%. So it's like, wow. So yeah, so we export all the terrible things. So they test it here. Texas is such a big state, and I always tell people it's a very expensive state. There's a lot of moving parts. If it works here, it'll work anywhere. We're kind of like the New York of political logistics.
Right. Right.
If you can make it in this state, you can take that and it'll operate probably better in most other states.
Right.
So that's why all the people I work with that do field are all from Texas.
Okay.
I've done work in Texas.
Yeah.
And I've seen many a consultant come into Texas from especially the Northeast. They don't last very long.
Yeah.
Um,
Did
I
you?
mean, Dallas County has more votes than Massachusetts.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Did
yeah.
you take a look-see at Waltz, if he's beloved, or is there a positive thing on him?
Oh, Waltz is he just did, there isn't enough data yet. I'm sure we'll see something now that's post convention and we've had a few weeks. Everything I see on him, his I don't know who he is numbers are still bigger than the other two.
Wow.
You know? So I think he's like 20 and 60s, I don't know. You know,
Cool.
but we're in a 50-50 country.
Well,
But
the
I think,
Republicans blew it for talking smack about his disabled son. That
oh yeah,
really
no,
worked
they
against.
always, the Republicans are drowning. And when you're drowning, you overreach
Yeah,
everywhere. Think about it, when you're in the water and you're dying out there, what are
like
you
Trump
doing? You're
is,
flailing around, looking
and
for
making
something
up
you can.
stories and coming up with stuff. It's like, what? He says he's better
Right.
looking than Kamala. Oh my God, that's desperate. That's
Yeah,
desperate.
that's basically third grade park swing set talk.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
very
even
sad. Yeah,
it's not even a real conversation.
yeah.
So, but yeah, they're just flailing, and problem is when you're panicking, you make bad decisions and you overreach.
Right. Well, he's
And you
talking
can do the
about,
same thing when you're celebrating. You can overreach when you're celebrating.
that's true.
Like honestly, I think the Republicans doing what they did to the Supreme Court, and uh
Celebrating.
then the Supreme Court did the overreaching. And I think when I was here last time, I talked about being at that party full of Republicans who were
Yeah.
freaking out, and that was just in the leaked document. It hadn't actually gone down yet. That they'd been fundraising off of Roe for 50 years, generating votes,
I
generating
remember
trillions of dollars in
you
campaign
told me,
money.
yes, I remember,
Yeah.
but they didn't
So,
really want it to happen.
oh yeah. But they didn't really want it to happen because it's such a huge cash cow for them.
Yeah.
No, they're the dog that caught the car.
Yeah.
And now they're overreaching, and so all the sane minds have gotten out. The ones that had made their money, like they're not even listening to Karl Rove. I don't like the guy, but I know he knows his stuff.
Right.
So they're not listening.
Yeah.
So Karl Rove is now technically an independent.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
that should just freak everybody out. Because that tells you how far right the GOP's gone.
Yeah.
And so my 15. So I would like to thank everyone who's been going back and looking at the 15 video series I did on Project 2025. I can see you guys clicking on it. You know, it's not getting crazy numbers, but I can tell people pretty much every 48 hours are still clicking on it.
Isn't it?
Um, it's definitely worth going back into. There's some other really good, if you want to go, I kind of simplify a lot of stuff. If you want to get deeper in the weeds, the Brennan uh Center's got some great stuff on it. There's actually a bunch of really good, reliable nonprofits that have done some really good work on that. And Keenan's a, 20 Project 2025 skit during the Democratic convention was
Wasn't it brilliant?
classic. I loved it. I was right to the point.
Yes.
Here, you're a public
Well,
employee.
they
Not
brought it up
looking
a
good on
lot.
page 320.
They brought it up a lot.
Department of Education. Well, according to 516, you're not gonna have a different name. It doesn't matter. I was like,
Yeah.
it ain't looking good.
Not looking, and they brought it up a lot because although he's up there denying, I didn't have anything to do. Yeah, you did. We have video of you saying you really love it. You love the author.
Right. Oh yeah, no, they can backtrack that all they want. This is what they thought the public wanted. Because they, much like hardcore left-wing Democrats, and I'm one, and I I try to acknowledge the bubble for what it is, and I stay out of it. Plus, I have a few very old friends that keep me honest. But a lot of Democrats live in a bubble, and a whole lot of Republicans live in a bubble. And when you talk to only people who think like you, then Project 2025 is what you get.
Yeah.
And what they did was they published effectively what I call white sheets, which are policies and platforms that you'd like to implement. But these would be called internal white sheets. These are not white sheets that were for mass public. These aren't for the press release. Those are called press releases. They're not called. Anyways, so what they did was they took everything that every right wing pack had ever wanted in any kind of dreamscape and then put it into one volume, which is awesome. And it's a huge help for the Democrats because we can point at this book and say, if it's in here, it's bad. And that we've never had that opportunity before. But they did such a comprehensive, good job of taking every freaking terrible idea that the GOP's ever come up with since 1980. And if one book.
Yeah.
And now we got something to point at. And honestly, the more simple the language you use, the better it's going to get, and the further it's going to go.
A lot of
It
people
requires less
don't believe it.
energy
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
further.
So what do you think about Trump calling RFK his ticket?
They've already kind of, I think his vote's kind of already built in. Most polls you see, and actually on my show, that's now 16 minutes old. I actually have him in a poll and then him not in a poll. And basically what it does is there was a national poll with about 1,800 sample size, and this is just one poll, and you gotta take it for what it was. Um, but it went from like a 6-point lead for Harris to a 4-point lead for Harris. So real, but hardly seismic.
Yeah,
Um, mostly what his ticket was a way for independent voters to stick it to the Republican Party without going to the Democratic Party. So he consider like it's a press like so you have these two sides and there's right the Republicans and the Democrats and we're squeezing. There's a lot of pressure in the middle. That middle is the independent vote.
yeah,
And what it need and sometimes it just pushes back. We have a very low turnout. It closes for one side. We have a high turnout like in 08 or like in 2020. Um, you'll see that that's the independent vote pushing. And what happens when you have a third party is it squeezes and it gives them somewhere to go
right.
so that those independent votes can escape the party. So blah. Honestly, a libertarian's argument fails on the road he drove in on to make the argument.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out
Well,
there.
he was up there complaining that the Harris people didn't even call him back.
No,
So
no,
I'm
why
up
would they?
here, I'm up
Why
here
would you want to
today.
be associated with Worm Brain Boy, man who kills bears, plus, wow.
Well, he was like, so I'm with the second one here.
Right, great. It's the best non-endorsement I've ever heard. We'll take it. And honestly, he's already on the ballot in a bunch of states. He's going to be on that ballot. So they're going to vote for him anyway.
Yeah,
It's not like they're taking him off the ballot. The printing has started. We have voters that are going to start voting in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Yeah, in mid-September. I got to go look up which state that is. But there's a state that has early voting as early as because it's by mail and stuff.
well,
So they
Trump had
start
an early voting in Florida, even though he's a felon.
right. I wonder how they're going to work that out. Oh no, I did look that up. Do you know how
What?
they get around that?
What?
Okay. Because I was also like, Um, so by state law, because states run
Voting.
the elections, they say that it's got to be a federal offense. You have to have a federal, a Florida felony. Florida felony, Jesus. And so as long as it's not a Florida statute that you broke, because he broke it in New York, so that's not the same thing.
So it's a nothing burger.
So it's a nothing, but he gets to vote.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to look that up. I was like, oh, because
Yeah.
no one was making a big deal that he's the first president who can vote for himself because he's a felon, because that's not a thing.
So,
It's a felon, don't get me wrong,
oh yeah.
but not in Florida,
So
technically.
could we possibly dream that Texas could turn blue?
Right now, Colin Allred's numbers he's got the best by a pretty good group that do know what they're doing.
Oh,
He's
that
like a
means we get rid of Ted Cruz?
2 point gap. 2 point gap is and that's registered voters.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Ted Cruz got like 3.5. That was his gap. Think about it this way: every percentage point is 150,000 votes.
Okay.
So if he's 2 points down, that's like 300,000 votes.
Okay.
That's one way to look
See,
at
he
it.
won't win?
Colin Allred's got my full support.
Me too. Well,
And I think if he had been given operate enough counties, then I think yes, he would win.
we'll also consider a lot of people that would come out to vote for the Harris ticket and would just
Oh no, she's got
vote for him.
massive coattails.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think, and honestly, that's what it is. I really do believe that that's why the Republicans in Central Texas were freaking out. Okay, because they understand what this could mean.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that Texas could go blue? Sure. Based on the last 13 special elections I've watched, yeah.
Okay.
I think that we've won abortion rights in states that we got no reason winning anything statewide.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are those voters pissed, and are they going to teach them a lesson? Are there a bunch of women that are going to go have brunch and then go? I truly do believe that's going to be a thing.
Okay.
And because honestly, it already happened. It happened in '08. There was this great thing where you would go vote, and then it was like a pub crawl. And there'd be like 90 people would show up and vote, and then they would just go do like a pub crawl down Greenville here in Dallas. I mean, stuff like that just happened, and that wasn't even coordinated by the campaign. We were just
Right.
like, why didn't we get invited? You know?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. How about Ruben Gallegos and Eugene Vidman? Have you looked at them at all?
I have not had a chance to really. That's actually what I'm doing this whole week now that the
Okay.
convention's over. I'm
Okay.
going into all the swing states and I'm pulling all their data. And I'm probably going to end up doing like a show per swing state. Some of the shows probably be like 5 minutes long. Some might be as long as 10. Really depends on how much data is out there. And there's been a lot of data that's come through. So I got to process all that.
Right. So, even though she switched out, Biden switched out, I can't believe how this took off.
So not to toot my own horn, but she was technically my first pick in 2020 because I thought this is what we would have been able to do. I saw this in her candidacy. I understand that it's kind of like in football when you have a rookie quarterback who sits for 4 years and watches a true master at work who and is Biden. I mean, the guy got ACA through the Senate.
I know.
That was his job.
Yeah,
He saved millions and millions of Americans, some of which don't even vote for him
I know.
because of the ACA. And then COVID. And the ACA made COVID a whole lot less worse than it was going to be.
Right.
So they don't actually know how many lives that guy saved.
Right.
Um, and the $1 billion, guys. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot of money because the only time you ever hear that number is when you're talking about the deficit or military spending. So, so yeah, no, he's done some amazing things. And she got to sit there and sit on the bench and watch all that go down. And then was a major participatory because she was a vote breaking member of Senate. She's the
Right.
president of
Right.
the Senate. That's what the VP does. So they break the vote when it's a 50-50 tie.
Right.
She did the infrastructure bill. She did all of she literally was the final vote on the best wins that we've had in 4 years. And she got to see how all that plays out and all that interconnects. And that, I think,
And
it's
she's
kind of like
got a background.
Romo.
Yeah.
It's like Romo and the Cowboys. He sat on the bench and learned the game. And
Right.
then he's still got one of the best football IQs because he actually didn't have to, play at the presidential level.
Right.
She kind of sit there and just absorb everything,
Right.
and
And
yeah,
he had her come along with him on a lot of this
oh
stuff.
yeah, no, they've been hand and fist, and that's why he endorsed her when he resigned.
Right.
He
But
he'd
also, may I
already,
ask you this? Was it kind of an FU to Trump?
no, I think honestly, who had FU'd was the wealthy donors.
Okay. Because they wanted it to happen in the convention. I've heard.
No, they had their own ideas of their own candidates, and those are the ones they were looking at. And yeah, it probably would have gone to convention.
I heard
And it would not.
Pelosi was one of them.
No.
She
Not
wasn't?
Pelosi. Mm-mm, mm-mm.
She was for Kamala?
She was
Kamala?
okay. The reason Pelosi, I gotta think. I just want to say this correctly. She's one of the most amazing speakers we've ever had.
Mhm.
She's the job of speakers to get votes in line and money into
And she
campaigns.
counts standing up.
And she is exceptional at both of those.
Right.
She's also a huge draw of fundraising for the Republican Party. They make her a martyr. Oh, absolutely. The
Wow,
Pelosi's coming to take your guns. I mean, how many times have you heard that?
I know.
And the fact is she survived all of it, which makes her even more badass than
Right.
you would think. Anyway, but she's also of that generation that's being asked to, you know, move on. And what's interesting, it's like she's from San Francisco. Her district's San Francisco. There's more money than God in San Francisco. So yeah, she can raise money.
Yeah,
She controls the Hollywood. All Hollywood money goes through her.
right. So it
But that's her
wasn't the
job.
Hollywood elites that were wanting somebody else besides Kamala.
Yeah, there were a few.
Okay.
Some of which I very much like, and I don't really want to,
Well, if you notice,
support
you
it.
don't hear anything from George Clooney anymore.
No, I haven't heard anything from George. Not in a minute. Not that we were in like close contact or anything, but I'm figuring that but also it's like, man, you gotta when these hundred and half billion heirs are talking and saying, "Oh, that's it. I'm leaving the country," blah blah blah. That's because he's got an estate in Italy.
Yeah,
I mean,
he actually lives in Italy.
they
One,
can
yes.
they can afford for everything in this country to go straight to hell.
Right.
They
You
can afford it.
I
We
know you.
cannot afford that.
No, I know that you have a mom that's intuitive, and I don't know if you really believe in it or not. But years ago, when I first started my channel, mark my words, I said this. I should find out the couple of times I said it. See, we all thought Biden would hang in because he was really fighting. He was really fighting to stay in. I don't think he really knew he was going to exit until it was time.
Oh, I guarantee.
But I said to everyone, I saw two. So I thought in his second term, 2 years into his second term, he would hand the baton to Kamala. And
Yeah, that's.
she would be the first female
I would.
president
I
of
would
the
actually
United States.
bet that that would happen the first 18 months if it did,
Yeah,
because the Democrats would still control Congress and the Speaker becomes VP.
right. But I said she will be the
So we
first.
would have had Harris, Hakeem, Jeffries.
Wow,
That would have been pretty amazing.
that's amazing. But she would control she would be the first female president of the United States. I told everybody this for years, starting when I first started in 2018. I kept seeing it. But then when Biden was up, plus I love him so much, and that makes me prejudicial, I kept seeing him trying to hang in there. Because I don't know, honest to God, Sean, I don't know if he still hadn't stepped down that he would lose. I really don't know. He might have
No,
still.
I think he would have. Honestly, I'll tell you straight out. I think the Republican Party is so overreached. They so overstepped. I think we would have won. I don't know if we would have held on to the Senate. I think we'd have probably taken a couple of state congressional seats and been
Yeah.
able to, if not tie, take maybe by one or two
Okay.
Congress. But I don't think we would have held the Senate. But I think he would have won.
Okay.
So it would have been a lukewarm win. I mean, actually, it's not a lukewarm win. That's a win in these
Yeah.
any W. But now I think we're looking at, and that's part of what I got to go do. I got to go look at all these swing states and these congressional districts. Because if I got data coming out of North Carolina that says the governor for the Republican Party is deep six and can't break 40 points, then that's going to have a direct effect to congressional districts. And if you want to see something really messed up, look at what why North Carolina filed all those lawsuits and stuff to get the redistricting thrown out. All you have to do is look at what that redistricting did to the Democratic congressional representative of North Carolina. North Carolina, technically, more Democrats could vote, and they might not even pick up one congressional seat
Wow.
because of gerrymandering.
Yeah.
And that's nuts.
I know.
The fact that Texas by 2030, they're going to get more congressional seats. I think about expanding Congress and talked about which states were going to get more seats. Texas is going to pick up like 5 more seats,
Wow.
all because of Hispanic population growth.
Yeah.
All be gerrymandered so white voters can operate 3 out of 2 of those districts, if not 4 out of 4. If it's not a 1 to 4, it'll be a 2 to 3. The Hispanics will
But
get
have
their
you
two
seen
token
this
districts.
much participation since Obama? Did you look at Obama's numbers back in the day?
Yeah, so it's hard to, that's a hard gauge. Um, because like some of us were like super hardcore Obama from literally before he announced technically we were starting to work. So like our first meeting was like March oh 2007. I think I want to say probably the first week of March because I'm a March baby and it was before my birthday. So I'm gonna say the first week of March we met at a coffee shop and there were six of us and we started planning then. So that would, so by November it was like 18, 19 months later. She hasn't had 19 months.
No, she hasn't.
She hasn't had, she at this point would have had 15 or 16 of those months at this point. So it's it's definitely the same energy,
Right.
but the amount of organizing they're doing right now is
People
biblical.
volunteering
It's biblical.
during the convention. My friend's son said that the Act Blue or whatever was blowing up. They couldn't handle all the traffic.
Yeah, they raised $100 million in 4 days. I saw that this morning.
Wow.
25 million a day.
That's
That'll
not
do.
bad. That's not
Not
chunk.
bad.
That's not chunk. Oh,
That build a field program in every state that matters. That's for sure.
you know that pisses off the Orange Crush.
I think he's so deep in his own psychoses at this point. He doesn't acknowledge, he doesn't see that stuff because no one's going to show it to him.
Oh yeah, they're afraid. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He is now, his personality is so toxic. The only people used to talk to him aren't around anymore. Did you see his wife introduce him at the RNC or any of his kids?
No.
Nope. So, I think he had a police officer introduce him, which is kind of ironic. But anyway, yeah, I think he's now in a deep hole that he refuses to look up.
Right.
So, I don't, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Oh, even if he loses by a landslide, he'll still say it was stolen.
Oh yeah, no, they're already setting that up. Yeah, that language has already started percolating through the Reddits and nonsense of
But you
X.
know, maybe I should be concerned. I don't know why I'm not concerned with what he'll do.
Should be everyone should be concerned, just for the
Okay.
record. It's a real thing. They are literally terrible. So we've got to remain diligent.
Think
But
it could be as bad as January 6th?
no, because none of his little plebes want to go to jail.
Okay.
And that was the one thing that we did do. We made them go to jail. But what so how much time do we have left?
Well, however much you want.
Okay, so I'd like to go over a couple of policy things
Sure.
that Kamala's pushing and what the popularity is amongst the general population.
Okay.
Okay, expand Medicare price negotiations. 82% of registered voters agree with that.
I love that.
Cap insulin costs. 78% agree with that. And earned income tax credit. 73% agree with that. Cap price increases on food and groceries. 65% agree with that.
Wow.
Keep in mind, we're a 45-45 country and 10%'s independent. You can't get to 65
Right.
without Republicans.
Right.
Restore pandemic era child tax credit, 59%.
Not bad.
And then $25,000 assistance for first-time home buyers. That's 57%.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's her,
Good news,
that
guy.
she underwater policy platforms and 68%, somewhere in there. So, yeah, that's what the Republican, and all we have to do is point at Project 2025 and say, none of that's in here.
Right. 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 This is wonderful.
Right.
This is great,
Yeah.
great news. That's why people love
No,
your show.
the stuff that's happening now is real positive. It's a ton of work still to do. I'm
Yeah,
not trying to make anyone overconfident. I'm just saying, when you're sailing, we've got good wind, but we
yeah,
still have to know how to sail the sailboat. And there's still a bunch of other boats out there, and we got to beat them all. So
right.
just because you got good wind doesn't mean you're going to have good wind 4 weeks from now.
I like
You get,
how the administration is even saying, vote, it's gonna be close. Even
oh,
if it's
yeah, it's
not close,
guaranteed.
you need to
I
say
could,
that.
there's like five teams, technically, that are going to decide this election
Okay,
because they're must-win states for Democrats.
okay.
Now what's interesting, it's like, and we were talking about this a little earlier, and I'm going to do a whole show on this because a lot of people have been asking me about it. But like, you take North Carolina and Georgia, there's technically no path for the Republicans.
I love it.
Doesn't matter. There's no way they'll have
I
enough
had a
elected.
dream that Florida turned blue.
It's happened before in '08.
We'll see.
Now you understand about Florida, what I think's happened in Florida. A lot of people have left Florida. Even though you see the population growing, that there's usually a delay. Um, but a lot of people lost their homes, especially on the southern coast. And that's where the red part is. So if Florida flips, it's going to be because the red parts are the ones that have just been beaten on.
Yeah,
The only home insurance you can get in Florida is state home insurance, and it's
an
$2,000
arm and a leg.
it's
People
two
can't
grand a
afford
month.
it.
It's insane. You're
Yeah,
paying huge amount of money on top of your mortgage, on top of utilities, and everything's gotten more expensive out there because of the fact that the immigration has been cut by the administration so hard that the farmers can't get their stuff picked.
wow.
Yeah, the Republicans are
Oh,
kind
and
of.
also he's telling him in Texas too, in this heat, you can't take a water break.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And the thing is, like, most of our immigrants that are coming over the border legally for work aren't even Mexicans.
Yeah,
They're actually tapped out. We've been building factories there since China went crazy.
yeah,
We realized that we could just Mexico's way closer than China. And also Mexico's not saying they're going to invade Taiwan.
yeah,
So, yeah, huge amounts of industries already moved over to Mexico. You look at all the infrastructure that's been put into northern Mexico, where that big flat desert is, really
yeah,
has been all put in there by corporations.
yeah. They
Uh,
get cheaper.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. And then so we send goods to them, they change them, they send them back here. Sometimes a car will go back and forth twice and before it comes back over here for sale because we all do different stuff.
right,
But our systems are so integrated now.
right,
Mexico's our friend.
right.
Yeah, the cartels aren't, but who keeps arming the cartels? America.
Hello, hello.
I mean, so if we're talking about the cartels, that's one, and not to mention the drug policy of this country.
Yeah,
That's literally the economic engine that keeps them alive.
right.
So yeah, no, Mexico's our friend. So where you're getting a lot of these immigrants from, they're out there trying just to get a job. They're Venezuela. They're the Yucatan Peninsula. They're just places that have gone
Yeah,
crazy.
El Salvador, somebody
El
got,
Salvador's huge.
but El
Yeah,
Salvador did, they got all those cartels in prisons. So
yeah,
it's safer now in El Salvador.
right. Well, it's a process.
Yeah,
You gotta listen. Nobody wakes up when they're 3 or 4 wanting to be in a cartel.
no,
There's a system that says that that's your best option.
right,
So maybe people need better options.
right, right. Well, my friend, thank you so much.
All right. Well, it's been great talking to you. I
It's
always
been
have
great.
fun.
We've been on about 45 minutes. That's not bad.
Not bad.
I
Not
find
bad.
people start dozing off after an hour. So
Yeah,
I'll see you again, and I'm going to link your YouTube on this so people will watch you because you're rocking it, my friend. Whoops, you froze. Well, he's frozen, you guys. I don't know if you guys can tell. Show Sean? We're gonna go ahead and sign off, you guys. He got lost. Let's give him 1 second to see if he comes back to say, hi there, you got frozen. Oh, he's frozen again. All right, you guys, love you all. Oh, wait. Thank you.
I'm back.
Okay, you got
All right.
frozen a couple of times. All right, bye, you
No
guys.
problem. Bye.
Cheers.